some toys in here.
What's up, everybody? Today is the Man-Child. Okay, so today for review, going to go over the Masterverse new Eternia TRI-KLOPS figure. It's part of the Wave 12 Masterverse series. I already reviewed one over Mechanic. I thought it was just awesome. Go check that review out if you want to. And having this newer TRI-KLOPS in hand and the new Eternia subline, he also looks really cool. Very classic looking, but yet there's some, I want to say, a little bit of a redesign going as far as his armor and visor and the loincloth. Just as far as sculpting, I do like the newer colors. He also comes with a banner you can see in the image here, part of his art, going back to that comic book mini TRI-KLOPS that the Origins put out as an exclusive. So it's neat to once again see TRI-KLOPS remastered for new Eternia line. I thought the Revelation TRI-KLOPS as part of Masterverse wave was pretty cool. Of course, I'll bring him and compare him a little while with this, but I'm all for seeing newer versions of our favorite iconic vintage-inspired figures like Trapjaw, TRI-KLOPS, Mechanic, remastered new Eternia line, and if any subline is going to do it right, I definitely think it's new Eternia. So if you're not familiar with these newer boxes, yeah, you can see they have a limited window, but enough to see the figure and accessories, which is still cool because, you know, our company's now starting to go to windowless packaging. We've been pretty lucky with Master Universe, like the Origins and stuff like that, where they really haven't. But yeah, you can definitely see it with the Masterverse. Really cool art. So yeah, we have TRI-KLOPS there. And his classic look, once again, with that comic book inspired banner, I want to call it. And he has some newer soldiers as well fighting alongside of him. And they're also wearing something similar to his armor, if you can see in those images there. And here's a quick look with the images in the back of the box. So we just have a picture image of the TRI-KLOPS figure himself, standing in a battle-ready pose with his iconic sword. Yeah, he has his classic oval eye. Looks like the square one and even a triangle one as well, which shows on the other side of the box. What's interesting, though, is that in this image, the inner part of the eye is green. This one's blue, the triangle one anyway, or the oval one anyway. And now I just want to spin the box around for a second. So here's some more additional art. And here it is again in red, but yet here's the triangle eye that's also in red. That's interesting. I don't know if there's variations of this figure or somehow you're going to be able to change those eyes out with different color eyepieces. Yeah, we'll see once we get him out of the box. Anyway, there's a square one. And he also comes with a double pair of swords now. So once again, the vintage inspired one with the green colors. And I want to say this gold one has a little bit of a redesign, but this must go back to the comic book version where you got a gold sword. And here's a close-up of TRI-KLOPS' new bio. You want to pause and read that. And now dropping down, these are all 4 figures. It's going to be part of the Wave 12 series. And here's a little additional art on the left-hand side of the box looking in from the window. And we just can see those minions or foot soldiers that's fighting alongside of TRI-KLOPS. And then up here we have the new Eternia Beastman, Barbarian Skeletor, which looks like they're coming out of a porthole. And now here's a quick look with TRI-KLOPS and all his accessories out of box and what to expect. Yeah, really cool. I'd like the redesign. And going back to that visor piece, which of course we'll get into. So check this out. They give him 2 swappable visors. So he comes with the main one that kind of goes back to the classics. And this one sort of goes back to the Filmation, but with color eyes. So bringing in the new Eternia TRI-KLOPS for a closer look. Yeah, I really like the design of this visor. So, as I said, the first visor that he has on his head that comes in a box is it's paying homage back to the classics, I want to say, but has different sculpting. It has like these scales sculpted all through it. You can see, which I like that. It's really cool. He has the 3 larger oval eyes, as the classics did, and of course the visor rotates, right? So he has the blue eye, or we can see the iris part is blue, and then of course the red one. And then spin it back to the green eye. And are they all... Well, they're all oval, but they are slightly shaped different. All right, that one's a little larger. And or just the way he's... I want to say he's sort of squinting. That's what it looks like. So as far as the articulation with this visor and the whole head, he can look all the way down, back, right? Spin left to right. I like the mechanical. He has like a steel strap piece all across the face. It's all part of sculpt. Now, to remove this visor piece, it looks like it just pops right off like that, right? Obviously we already looked at that before. I'll put the other one on soon. Yeah, check out that mechanical helmet underneath that. So yeah, he's pretty much blind. But look at all the sculpting. That's pretty neat. All right, it's the front and the back. And that's, yeah, it's all part of sculpt. It's not like it, so is a chin strap, you know, it's not like nothing comes off and you have a head underneath. He has a little, you know, long hair in the back, TRI-KLOPS always did. Paint, you can see brown. It's pretty flexible. Looks like it's glued onto the back, and if for some reason you want to remove it and cut it, it looks like it can come off. But that's a neat design for a new Eternia TRI-KLOPS. And then to put this piece back on, it just, okay, snaps on like that. And yeah, rotates pretty good. It gets stuck a little bit left to right, but once you work it in back and forth, it seems to loosen up. So once again, I took that first classic-inspired visor off the head, as you can see here, right, on the left side. And now here's the alternative on the right one. So it's, let's move this out of the way for a second. This one is, I want to say, very Filmation inspired, right? So it has the triangle opening there, the square one, and then the circular one. And same thing as like a green iris in this one. This one's painted orange and red. And now the sculpting on the outer part of this visor kind of reminds me, I want to say, has like a 2000X vibe. So this is like a mixture between, yeah, the Filmation 2000X, and this one's classics and vintage inspired. It's pretty cool they give you both of those. And then going back to TRI-KLOPS with that first classic inspired visor off. So I'm going to put this alternative one on, Filmation inspired one. I'm going like this. And now here's a look at that one on the head and how it rotates. All the same as the first one, back and forth. And all right, so there's a look with TRI-KLOPS with the triangle eye and the face, looking forward. There's that circular eye. Spinning it one more time, there's a square one. So leaving this visor on for now, moving down. So he has his, iconic chest harness armor that, TRI-KLOPS is always known for. Going all the way back to the vintage what the classics did. But it's in the, it's a dark greenish color, but it almost looks like it has a goldish tint in it under my light, just like the visors, which, that's pretty cool. Has this gold strap piece down instead of the orange one that the vintage had. Now, real quick, I'm going to bring in the origins for a quick comparison, and I'll do other part swapping comparison later. So that's pretty much where it all started, or at least what the vintage did. And of course, the origins just basically doing what the vintage did, but with better articulation, maybe some paint sculpts. But this is where it all started. If you're not familiar, most of us probably are. And yeah, you can see where this armor was inspired from. But it does have, again, it goes back to not only the vintage or the origins, a little bit of maybe what the 2000X did, Filmation, and classics. All right, so turning around, you can just see how this TRI-KLOPS had a little sword holder, and it was very bare in the back. But yeah, so you have a gold piece also goes down. You can see how it comes apart, and he also has a sword holder in the back. Yeah, pretty cool sculpting though. Designs on the outer part of the arm. You can see it going all around, even on the gold piece. Guys, looks like some buttons going all the way up. You got the belt piece to it at it. All right, so it's all part of the sculpt. It looks like, but this is painted by itself. And so to remove the armor, you can see these two buckles, right? You're going to pop the left and then the right side. And then you can take it off, but it's probably easier to remove the head. So let's see how easy the head pops off the ball peg, okay? Now we can remove the armor. And here's a closer look with that armor piece off the body. And now putting the head back on real quick, here's a look with TRI-KLOPS. There's overall buck and body without the armor on. And yeah, it's just a Masterverse, new Eternia style, or Masterverse style body. I don't see anything different. Again, I thought this would have a newer chest design, going back to a Skeletech, the Skeletech figure. I thought Mechanic would too, but apparently I didn't use it for him either. It still works. So I'm going to keep the armor off for now because it doesn't hinder your articulation. So as far as your articulation, it's just everything we already seen before at Masterverse, but we'll try it with my figure. So yeah, you can spin at he has that ab crunch and go all the way forward and back. Spin at the waist. Yep, typical Masterverse style arms. So he can go all the way up, down, right? Go forward, back, has the bicep swivel. Can bend all the way up the elbow to the face. The other arms are all the same. Test it out though to see how my articulation is. Right, spin, elbow. Everything's really, really smooth with this figure. He has two gold wrist bracers, as you can see. They're both identical, and these are separate pieces. But again, it feels like mine are stuck or glued on. They can come off. I know they can, but a lot of them are getting stuck. He comes with two semi-weapon gripping hands, I always call them, and these ones, so they both, this one spins in a hinge joint. Let's see, go in and out. And the left hand's all the same, so we can spin, go in and out. And to remove the hand, and here's a quick look with the hand off the arm, and it has the larger style pegs that the Masterverse figures has, so it's not going to fit the origins. And again, with this bracer, I want to see, it's definitely a separate bracer, but yeah, this one's not coming off. It's almost glued or pegged on, but if you wanted to get it off, you could. And you can see I also took the hand out of the left side real quick, and also wanted to see, is this bracer also glued on? Yeah, so they are definitely separate bracers, but mine are definitely glued on. Strange. All right, so putting both hands and the armor back on, let's finish up the articulation, move down so we know we can spin at the waist. Yeah, so he has that newer Eternia Viking He-Man style belt, painted in like that metallic green. That's different from the armored visor, which is, it's okay. I like that. Check out this new loincloth he has. So he has like a armor scaly type loincloth or plate in the front. Right, it's pretty flexible. Right, all molded in black. The back is same thing, a piece shorter. It's like a shorter end, and but then he has like the furry pieces off to the sides. So you got 4 different pieces going on. It's pretty cool. I like that, and you can always switch these parts over to the Revelation one if you want a regular belt setup, which I'll do in a little while. So as far as the leg articulation with everything on, so you can go all the way out with a split, kick forward, right, go back, bend all the way up at the knee. He has a thigh cut, can spin at that thigh piece. Of course, we know he can spin at the boots. Yeah, he has just black He-Man boots with some gray lacing sculpted on the boot. Both sides exactly the same. And the other leg articulation is all the same. Bend at the knee. And yeah, the articulation on my figure is really good. I'm not having any issues with it. And of course, if you want to remove these boots for some reason, heat them up with He-Man boots or whatever you want, you can do that in Masterverse. And then, of course, the foot articulation, you can go all the way down, up, and it can rock side to side. Okay, so moving on, checking out some more accessories that the new Eternia TRI-KLOPS comes with. So, of course, he comes with a spare pair of punching fists for the left and right side. So, moving forward, TRI-KLOPS also comes with this banner, what they're calling the three-eyed cross-body belt. So, this kind of pays homage going back to that mini comic book TRI-KLOPS that the Origins did put out. I'll compare them a little bit with them. But, yeah, you can see the 3 different, like, eye symbols sculpted in there, right? The red, green, and yellowish, or actually it's a goldish color. And there's a place to put a sword, one of the swords if you wanted to, which is pretty neat. And then for his final accessory or accessories, so TRI-KLOPS comes with a dual pair of swords. So this one's based more on his vintage or classics design. Really cool design for Masterverse. Just the way the color it's molded in, that dark metallic gray color as far as the blade. You can see the handle, just the sculpting, the extra details. Once again, it's like you have the 3 different eyes on both sides. I like that black color around main handle, and then this overall pointy design kind of reminds me of his armor a little bit. And now here's a little closer look at that second sword TRI-KLOPS comes with. And this one seems to be inspired, I want to say, off the animation or Filmation cartoon. But it has, you know, obviously a redesign for the Masterverse series. And now here's a quick comparison with different TRI-KLOPS figure swords in the series. So this is the Classics TRI-KLOPS sword. Came out of the Spare Classics pack. His was green, but this alternative one was cast in gold. But that's basically the classic sword. Here's the new one, right? Came with our new Eternia TRI-KLOPS. Here's the Origins sword for TRI-KLOPS, which goes back to the vintage line. And this is the Revelation TRI-KLOPS sword, right? So it's, you can see the colors, cast in gold and black. But what I just noticed is the sword they're giving you for the new Eternia TRI-KLOPS is the same exact one as you get with Revelations, but cast in a different color. I wasn't sure of that at first until I compared them. And now here's a quick comparison with that alternative sword that comes with the new Eternia TRI-KLOPS. And this is the Filmation sword, or style sword, that comes with the Super 7 Filmation TRI-KLOPS figure. So once again, that's kind of where I'm guessing some of the inspiration came from the sword, but of course with a different redesign. Alright, so moving back to our TRI-KLOPS figure, let's set him up with some weapons and accessories. So I'm going to start with the Filmation style sword, because we have the Filmation style visor on. So I'm just going to put this in the right hand for now. Now here's a quick look or battle pose with that setup. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to leave this Filmation style sword in his right hand. I'm going to take this Filmation style visor off, put the classics or vintage inspired visor back on. And now with the vintage inspired visor on and the Filmation sword in the right hand, I'm going to bring in his vintage inspired typical sword and put it in the left hand. And now here's a quick look with that setup. So yeah, we have our TRI-KLOPS with his traditional visor on, of course, and both swords in hand, which I like that. That's a pretty neat look for TRI-KLOPS. And then spinning him around, of course, he has that little sword holder on the right-hand side of his armor, so you can put the vintage-inspired sword in if you want, or the Filmation one, or put one in one hand, leave one on the back. So removing both swords for a minute and getting back to this three-eyed crossbody belt, or banner as I call it. In order to put this on TRI-KLOPS, it's meant to, looks like it goes over the side of the arm, and doesn't look like you have to take the head off. You can slide it right over the head. You got to kind of position it like this, to the left side of the body with the red eye up, according to the box image. So you're going to take a look at that. And again, that's pays homage going back to the mini comic book version of TRI-KLOPS, even though he had a different armor, but now you're just using this with his typical vintage-inspired armor. And now here's a quick look with that setup. So we have that crossbody belt on over the main armor, which that's how it's supposed to go, according to the box. Have the Filmation style sword in hand. I have the vintage sword in the back. And the other cool thing with this armor is you can use either sword. Let's use a Filmation one. We can turn them around. So as I said, we already have the sword in the back. Check this out. It has another holder for the sword, either sword. And now Tri-KLOPS can hold other weapons or just be free-handed and have both swords on the back. Cool. Now I also want to try removing Tri-KLOPS' main armor and just throwing this cross-armored on across the body if you want to, something like that, even though it's, you know, it's not meant to go like that. It's meant to go over armor if you go back to the mini comics. So now I put his vintage-inspired sword in the back, right? Still have the sword in that hand. It looks pretty cool. Now, you can see how loose it is without the armor too, and if you wanted to position it to the left side, which I already tried, so once again you can stretch over the head and put it like this way, you could, or you can get two of these maybe. Oh, sword fell out. That also works, but it's, yeah, it's still sloppy, but you could do that, and again, you got two of these from two different Tri-KLOPS figures and crisscrossed them. I don't know, that might look interesting. Okay, so moving on to a few comparisons and mixing and matching of parts. So once again, we have our new Eternia TRI-KLOPS against the Master Universe Origins mini book comic TRI-KLOPS, which was an Mattel Creations exclusive. So once again, this is where the inspiration came from. You can see that cross banner. Now this one's actually part of the armor for the Origins. It would have been cool if it come apart. And yeah, they never made a figure like this in the classics or of course Masterverse. A lot of people would like this armor going back to the mini comic one, but we just have this, whether it's classics or Filmation or now Masterverse. Now, what I'm curious is if this armor will fit on a Masterverse figure, even though it's more of a simple aesthetics for the Origins. All right, now here's a quick look at that setup. Yeah, the Origins mini comic book TRI-KLOPS armor fits pretty good on this Masterverse figure. It does pop a little bit here. You have to heat it up, you know, where it snaps. So yes and no, but for the most part, you can make it fit. Now this is all paint in the back. I actually have parts where the white paint's chipping. Yeah, I did a poor job on this with the Origins, excuse me. But for the most part, it does kind of work. It's a little, here we go again. See this side. Yeah, you got to heat it up and put it together. Looks pretty cool though. And the only thing missing now is those unique red boots. And I don't even have a figure in my collection as far as Masterverse by taking these boots off that could even work to match this. I was going to even try the Sunman, right, which pretty unique boots, but they're really orange. And yeah, they're not going to match that armor, so I'm not going to waste my time. But aside that, the armor for the most part can fit, and that's what it would look like on a Masterverse TRI-KLOPS or a Masterverse body. And now here's a quick look with the Masterverse armor and the crossbody armor set up on the mini comic book Origins TRI-KLOPS, and it fits really good, a little loose, looks cool on them. And now here's a quick comparison between our new Eternia TRI-KLOPS figure and of course the Origins first release TRI-KLOPS figure, or the TRI-KLOPS that was inspired from the original vintage design, had all the green colors instead of the mini comic book TRI-KLOPS figure I just showed. And now to brighten up your day or your Masterverse figure, I threw the Origins first release TRI-KLOPS armor and head, as you can see, on this particular Masterverse body. Yeah, and it fits and works well, looks good, articulates pretty good, goes all around. And the reason why I tried this, or I think this looks better as far as the head on this body, because the the skin color on the first release Origins TRI-KLOPS a little more tanner to match this body, where the mini comic book one, he's really light as far as skin color. And now going back to the first release Origins TRI-KLOPS, right? So here's the head. I obviously took off the Masterverse one, put all the armor on, I cross-armored. I put it the Filmation style sword in hand from the Masterverse, and of course the head on, and it looks awesome on this Origins body. Because, once, as I already mentioned, this is, you know, the tone on this body is darker, and it does kind of match the skin on this, you know, the face for the Masterverse TRI-KLOPS. And I just left the typical, you know, visor on with the big eyes, because going back to the vintage one, say, it's a very identical setup. You can put the other one on if you want. And what's neat, too, is this cross armor piece that I just threw over this can also hold the vintage inspired sword. And it can kind of go through the armor. I don't want to break nothing. Might have to heat it up, but it is tight, but that also will fit. And now here's another look with the Origins TRI-KLOPS setup with the Masterverse armor, that cross piece. I put his vintage inspired sword back in hand, and I just threw his you know, Origins head on. So if you want to use that setup with this head, this body armor, this piece, a sword, and then of course you can put the Filmation sword, whatever sword you want in the back. And now here's a quick look of my carded Classics Tri-KLOPS against the Masterverse new Eternia TRI-KLOPS. So you kind of see what they did with the armor, the visor. And now while we're on the subject of Classics, so this is a loose Classics He-Man buck, right? Here's our Masterverse buck, and obviously I stripped the armor, and they have no heads on. So the question would be, does the Masterverse armor fit on a Classics buck? Let's try it out. And now here's a look at that setup. So yeah, the armor does fit perfect on a Classics body or buck. And then bringing in the Masterverse Tri-KLOPS head on the ball peg for the Masterverse buck. Does that fit? Let me see. Alright, so yeah, it does sit on there, but it is wobbly and loose. You can use putty or tape in there. And for the most part, we're building another Classics Tri-KLOPS with these two parts. And now here's a final look at my Masterverse / Classics Tri-KLOPS. So, of course, I have the main armor on off the Masterverse Tri-KLOPS figure. I put that cross armor on here, which fits really good. Of course, the head, as I already said, does articulate. You can tighten it up. Sword in hand, put the sword in the back. And again, I'm just using a spare He-Man body with that particular skin tone. And now moving on to the last comparison. So, of course, we have the Master Universe Revelation Tri-KLOPS, which was based in that Revelation show, or that's where his figure was inspired from. And our new Eternia TRI-KLOPS, which to me is a mixed match of Filmation, a little bit 2000 X Classics, its own thing as far as the new Eternia line. As far as mixing and matching parts, so, you know, you're just basically switching armor from this body to that body on two exact Masterverse bodies that look the same as far as sculpt. But this Masterverse Revelation Tri-KLOPS, so he does have in the arms, there's a little bit different sculpting, like just a mechanical piece on that, okay, on both sides. But this one has plain Masterverse, new Eternia style He-Man arms. His skin has a very orange tint to it. They almost look close, but yeah, this is shiner, has a little bit, let me see. Now, maybe they're the same, but this one's definitely shinier. Now, the only thing I can see as far as advantages of what you might want to take off this Tri-KLOPS to make this one more Classics inspired, you want to call it that, would be the loincloth with this belt to remove this one because it's its own thing. Now, there is a way to change these loincloths. It's sort of complicated. You got to boil them in hot water. I've done it with heat and take these two sections of the legs apart, pry it, pull it over. That's the more difficult way. It's more time consuming. Or you take a razor knife, you make a small cut in here, and you can just literally pull the loincloth right off the whole waist. Do the same thing in the other figure. You put this one on that side, put that one on that, figure, wherever figure you want to place it to, and you put a little glue. That's the easy, lazy way, and it works good. But side that, and then the boots, there, let's see. All right, so yeah, obviously you can see he has, these boots are a little bit different, not only with the lacing, but the way the fur is, seems, oh no, they're the same, I'm sorry. It's just the lacing is different. What about the feet? The feet too. So this has a little more, the actual foot's a little different as far as the style. That's not a big deal to me. I mean, yeah, this is more Filmation inspired, just going more back to the Classics or something. Aside that, let's see what parts. So let me switch his parts and head over to this body. So we have this loincloth and belt and boots without cutting this. That's what you want to do. And before I switch the parts over, so yeah, obviously I have both these Tri-KLOPS figures stripped. This is the Revelation Tri-KLOPS. I mean, obviously with the belt, you can see in loincloth, but that darker orange or just shinier skin. Of course, we already talked about those little circuit parts in the arms. And of course, there's a new Eternia one. And you kind of see that the overall buck design is kind of what I'm getting at. Exactly the same aside just things on the arm, the loincloth, stuff like that. Okay, so we have the new Eternia armor, head, sword on the Revelation body. And it does work really good. Just something with the different wash or tones in his face, even with this darker orange or shinier skin. Yeah, it works good. Of course, the articulation is all the same. I did change the visor out to, see, go back to this Filmation-inspired visor with the type of eyes. That's what this Revelation Tri-KLOPS came with. And again, how it was based from the Filmation cartoon. Well, it works really good. So now you have a more traditional Tri-KLOPS with either the Filmation visor, or again, if you wanted to go more traditional Classics, just throw that one on. I guess the most important part is to put all the armor, the pieces on, the sword in hand, just to have this belt and loincloth set up and these boots if you didn't want to cut this or remove it. And then while I'm still focused on the Revelation body, so I just kept the new Eternia armor on, the cross piece. I put the Revelation Tri-KLOPS head back on. All right, slip the sword in hand, slip that Filmation sword in the back. And any other thing you could do too is change these boots out if you like these better. I don't think it's worth it on camera, but it could be done. And then going back to the new Eternia body with those boots and that loincloth setup, so I just put the Revelation TRI-KLOPS armor head on, as you can see, and then both swords in hand. I want to set them up like that. Now I just put that cross piece on the armor. I took the Revelation head off, put the new Eternia head on, kept both swords in hand, and once again, so, you know, a little tweaking here and there with heads and armor parts, but the main thing is we're just trying to switch parts back and forth all over a loincloth and belt. So, of course, I had to bring in the new Eternia Trapjaw against our new Eternia TRI-KLOPS. They did an awesome job on him, just like Mackinac, and I always felt like Trapjaw and TRI-KLOPS went hand to hand, going all the way back, whether it was a Filmation cartoon or you've seen it a lot in the 2000X cartoon. And once again, they just did an awesome job on his TRI-KLOPS, and they look so good together. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up my review on the new Master Universe Wave 12 new Eternia TRI-KLOPS figure. Yeah, I think he's awesome, just like Mackinac. It's definitely worth the pickup. He does have enough differences over this TRI-KLOPS that, you know, obviously was the first release from the Revelation cartoon, and I did like this TRI-KLOPS. He did a good job on him, but he is more Filmation inspired, and that's kind of what he's going back to. But this one, you have a good mix of stuff. The way I see it, a little bit of Filmation, 2000X, vintage, classics, mix match parts kind of thing. I like this comic book inspired banner goes across the chest, and you don't have to use it if you don't want to. I'm going to leave it on him. You know, you get the iconic sword once again. That's exactly the same sword as this TRI-KLOPS I showed, but, you know, painted in a green color mass of armor, going back to vintage. And I like that they also added this Filmation style sword, and that you can hold both swords, whether it's one in this set of the armor, you know, the normal armor on this cross piece. I like the different visors that you can change out. So the classics, vintage inspired, or the Filmation inspired with a little bit of redesign or more mechanics in it now to, yeah, 2000X or kind of their own thing going, or just similar to what this TRI-KLOPS did, but different. The colors are different. And I like this loincloth and belt. I don't mind it, but some people might not like that. So that's why I switched parts between this one. Again, if you didn't want to get into complications with cutting both belts off and switching them, but if you like that, it is possible. You can go check out some YouTube videos how to do that, or take my recommendation how to do that, the lazy ways to cut it, pull it, and everything I said. I'm not going to tell you to do that to your figure. I've done it. It works. And, of course, you can always change the boots out with a little bit of heat. That's a little time-consuming. I don't know if that was important, but aside that, yeah, I'm really happy to have him in hand. And it's also cool, too, that the visor is a little larger than this one. I didn't think it was. To me, I was always used to that larger visor going back to the vintage and classics. I like something with that, but yet they were a little too big as I got older. So this is a good mix. It's perfect. It's right in between. Did an excellent job. So I appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, take care.